Yo, everybody, what's this? Slash Tech. Welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro the Dawn of a New Era deck profile. Today we are going to be doing DDD. Finally. I have finally decided to make a deck. Now, this deck isn't going to be like most DDD decks that are primarily focused on the fusion summoning. I'm trying to get... sure, fusion summoning is going to be the most popular method of summoning, but I'm going to be... This deck tries to incorporate every single form of summoning. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we have the DDD deck, and also I've been working on a new Crystron deck, and I'm going to do one replay for that one, but keep in mind that one's still in the process of getting all the kinks worked out. It's still a fairly new archetype, so there isn't really much inspiration you could draw on. You know, not many people have really made a deck on the Crystron, so there isn't really much you can get an idea from. And that being said, it's also an archetype that doesn't really have much support. There isn't really much you can use with it effectively. So anyway, enough of that. On to the duel. We are going to be doing a DDD versus Blue Eyes first. So trade in, discard Blue Eyes, activate one Day of Peace, both draw a card. They set down Unearthing Destiny, and they end the turn. So I'd start off with a pretty solid hand. First gonna activate Hellgate in order to add, I don't even know what I added to my hand. Then I activate Dark Contract with the Swamp King, which in hindsight, that was a very stupid move. I could have just used Swirl Slime's effect. But, you know, this was when I just had first made the deck. So yeah, Fusion Summon Arc, and end the turn. Activate Raigeki, destroy Arc, and they summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. They end their turn because they're a little bit hesitant. Also, they cannot conduct their battle phase, so I activate Hellgate once again in order to add Copernicus to my hand, and then I set him and Newton in Pendulum Scales. I Pendulum summon two monsters, fuse my Newton on the field with the Baphomet in my grave to summon another Arc, and I end my turn. This guy obviously goes straight for the Arc, and I have no choice but to take all my damage. So then I add Leonidas to my hand with Hellgate. Pendulum Summon, Fusion Summon for DDD Wave Oblivion King Caesar Ragnarok. Now, this card right here, for some reason, its effect won't activate during attacks. I don't know if that's only when I attack, but I do know when I attack, the effect does not activate for some reason. Anyway, yeah. Also there was another spell card similar to this. I can't remember what it was. Forbidden Dark Contract with Swamp King? I don't know. But that card didn't work either, so yeah. I would have had more replays to show you, but for some reason that card didn't work and it messed up my entire strategy. Anyway, my field is full, and I'm going to go for the battle. I attack. Here you can see the effect can't take place. They activate the effect of Spiritual Swords of Revealing Light. However, I go ahead and activate Dark Contract with Heirs, so all their traps are useless. However, they tried to use Unearthing Destiny. That fails. I just attack with all my monsters, and they surrender before I can end it. Anyway, I'm gonna go get the second replay and be right. Okay, so this duel I like to refer to as the Royal Duel of Supremacy. I was gonna say the Clash of Kings, but I think that name's already taken. Anyway, yeah, as you can see, we have the DDD versus DDD. King DDD. I'm gonna stop now. But yeah, we got DDD versus the Monarchs. So yeah, Kings versus Kings. So I believe, yeah, they go first. They seem to be a bit inexperienced with this deck because they're a little either new to the deck or they're new to this this app, because of course they use Idea to summon Eidos, and yeah, that's a basic move. It's a good move, but then when they summon Zaborg, they destroy Eidos. And then they use Eidos to bring Idea back out. Anyway, once again I got a decent hand. So, well, not really decent. I saved my Pendulum monsters for later. I just set Necroslime and Dark Contract with Heirs. So they obviously attack Necroslime and they end their turn. I activate Hellgate, they chain with Magic Jammer. And that was the most difficult part of this playthrough, is the fact that they have Felgrand on top of their deck. Anyway, yeah, so the hardest part was knowing that I couldn't use Contract with the Gate. So I go ahead, set the skill with Chaos Apocalypse, Nuin to summon Leonidas. Then I activate Dark Contract with Heirs, so no traps, even though that's a spell card, but I didn't know it. So they activated Warrior Returning Alive, and they summon DD Warrior Lady. They take the 1100, but they banish Leonidas. I set down Night Howling on my turn. They summon Zahak. I fusion summon Oracle Dark, but they use Ring of Destruction, and I chain with Contract with Heirs. And this is where the match got out of hand. So I Pendulum Summon Chaos Apocalypse. And I figure, given the fact that earlier they used Eidos, they destroyed Eidos with the effect of Zaborg, I figured one of the options, as I said, was they might be a new player. So new players tend to want to protect their life points over everything else. So what I did was I attacked with Dark first. And of course the new Zahak's effect would destroy a monster. However, instead of destroying the Ark, which kept on healing me, they instead decided to destroy Chaos Apocalypse, who hadn't attacked yet. So they saved their life points, but in the process they made things easier for me. They send Dandelion to the grave in order to get 2 tokens in the defense in their turn. And then, of course, I gain 1,000, I activate Yami Makai, set down Contract, change, Pendulum Summon, destroy both, and they set Rebellion down. So I activate Swamp King, they activate Rebellion, I destroy, I Pendulum Summon, end the turn. And this is where, when I say out of hand, I mean my life points just go through the roof. I mean, I have gone to 30,000 life points before on Dueling Network. Don't ask. Just don't ask. Let me just say, you never leave an air hummingbird alone when you use a deck that usually keeps a lot of cards in your hand. They said Dragon Knight of Creation. So actually looking at this is a combination of the Felgrand and this combination Felgrand and Monarch deck, which is actually a little bit I don't know how that works. I mean, maybe I can take a look at the deck later. I mean, I do have access to that, but right now I'm going to finish this replay, show you my deck, and then we are going to head into we're going to head into the Crystron replay. So I'm going to go pull up the deck. Be right back. Okay, so here's the deck. As you can see, it's not really your typical deck. The typical deck has a lot more planning behind it. This one really doesn't, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I basically threw it together like 2 days ago, and I don't have much practice with this archetype. Usually I like to study an archetype thoroughly before I display the deck on a video, but I don't know. Anyway, so I used 2 copies of Chaos Apocalypse, the pendulum effect of banishing 2 DD monsters from your graveyard to special summon this card from your pendulum zone, and a monster effect of during your opponent's turn. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target 2 face-up spell or trap cards you control. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Fiend-type monsters. Also destroy those targets, and if you do special summon this card, you can only use that effect once per turn. Next is Leonidas, 2 copies, which is strange considering it's such an influential card in the DD archetype. Just Leonidas and Dark are cornerstone cards in this deck. I only used 2 copies of each, which is strange, but I felt like being able to put up a better pendulum scale was a much more necessary move. That's why you see Newton and Copernicus have more copies. Anyway, pendulum effect: when you take effect damage except during the damage step, you can destroy this card, and if you do any effect that would inflict damage to a player this turn, increases their life points by the same amount instead. And for the monster effect, when you take effect damage except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do gain life points equal to the damage you took, and while this card's on the field, you take no effect damage. Next we have Savant Newton. And Newton and Copernicus pretty much have the same pendulum effect, except this one's for traps and this one's for spells. This one says, obviously you cannot pendulum summon monsters except DD monsters. This effect cannot be negated. Before resolving the effect of a trap card that will inflict damage to you, you can negate the effect and then destroy this card. This effect can only be used once while this card is in the pendulum zone. A good and then Copernicus is for spells. A common combo that I use is if I don't really have any monsters on the field, especially if I don't have a Dark or a Leonidas, I usually negate a spell or trap's damage towards me with either Copernicus or Newton, and then I use Yami Makai to bring the one that was destroyed back. Its monster effect is, I really don't know because I don't use it. Okay, so basically you discard a card, add 1 DD or Dark Contract in your graveyard to your hand, except Newton. DD Baphomet, once per turn you can target 1 DD monster you control except Baphomet. Declare level from 1 to 8, it becomes that level until the end of this turn. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except DD monsters. DD Lilith, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can activate one of these effects. You can only use this effect once per turn. Target one DD monster in your graveyard, add to your hand, or one face-up DD pendulum monster from your extra deck and add it to your hand. Copernicus. Copernicus. Oh, I didn't know I could do this. Anyway. Yeah. This one's basically has the same pendulum effect as Noon except for spells. And its monster effect is, if this is normal or special summon, you can send one DD or Dark Contract card from your deck to your graveyard except DD Savant Copernicus. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, normally, if you're going to do this, you would send either Necro Slime, which is, banish it and another DD monster in your graveyard to fusion summon a DDD fusion monster from your extra deck. You could send Chaos Apocalypse to your grave and use its effect during your opponent's turn to special summon it from your grave. And then you can send Swirl Slime to your grave, banish it to summon a DDD monster from your hand. Or you can send either a level 4 or a level, one of your level 4 monsters to the grave, and then summon it with Night Howling to synchro summon. It's basically it. What was I doing again? Oh yeah, Night Howling. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one DD monster in graveyard. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except fiend type monsters. Also special summon this target, but its attack and defense becomes 0. Also you take 1,000 damage if it is destroyed. It's the tuner of this deck. I have 2 copies of Gus King Alexander and 1 of Cursed King Siegfried. So, to get Alexander, you would summon Night Howling and then get Lilith, Copernicus, or Baphomet. And then to get Siegfried, you'd summon Baphomet and use its effect to change Night Howling to level 4. Next we have Swirl Slime. As I said, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one DD monster from your hand. And then, if this card's in your hand, you can fusion summon one DDD fusion monster from your extra deck by using the monsters from your hand as fusion materials, including this card. And then Necro Slime, and as I said, if this card's in the graveyard, you can fusion summon one DDD fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your graveyard, including this card. Last monster in the deck is DD Savant Kepler. Ignore the pendulum scale. If you put this in your pendulum zone, then you are... It's not really... In this deck, Savant Kepler is not to go in the pendulum scale under any circumstances, unless you desperately need to pendulum summon that turn. Normally, you would normal summon it or special summon it, and then use its effect to either target one DD card on you control and return it to your hand, or add one Dark Contract card from your deck to your hand. 3 copies of Dark Contract with the Yummy Makai. All of the Dark Contracts that I have deal 1,000 damage during the standby phase. So, Yami Makai, its effects are you can either target one DD pendulum monster in your graveyard to put in your pendulum zone, or place one face-up DD pendulum monster from your extra deck in your pendulum zone. Dark Contract with the Dark Contract with the Gate. During your main phase, you add one DD monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Dark Contract with the Swamp King, fusion summon. Use one fiend type fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or your side of the field as fusion materials. If you would fusion summon a DD fusion monster, you can also banish monsters from your graveyard as fusion materials. You can only use this effect once per turn. Dark Contract with the Witch. You send one DD or Dark Contract card from your hand to the graveyard and target one card on the field destroyed. can only use this effect once per turn. All Fiend type monsters you control gain 1000 attack during your opponent's turn only. Dark Contract with Heirs. As you saw, if you control a DD monster, you can negate all other trap card effects on the field until the end of the turn. Last 2 cards in the deck. DDD Contract Change. When your opponent's monster declares attack, activate one of these effects. Banish one DDD monster from your graveyard, and if you do, the attacking monster loses attack equal to the banished monster's attack. Or the one I like to use more, you can add one level 4 or DD Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. So that'd be either Copernicus or Kepler. And finally, we have 2 copies of DD Recruit. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, target any number of DD monsters and or Dark Contract cards in your graveyard up to the difference in the number of monsters and add them to your hand. You can only activate 1 per turn. And then finally, a lot of the monster effects here are very straightforward, not really much strategy behind it. We're running low on time. This has been going on for a while. I'm just going to tell you how many I have of each. You can pause the video if you want to read it. I'm going to just breeze through it and we can go and look at the Crystron, because I know some of you probably want to see that. So just 2 copies of DDD Wave Oblivion King Caesar Ragnarok, 1 copy of DDD Dragon Slayer King Beowulf, 2 copies of DDD Oracle King D'Arc, 2 copies of DDD Flame King Genghis, 1 copy of DDD Cursed King Siegfried, 2 copies of DDD Gus King Alexander, 2 copies of DDD TDOANE King Kali Yuga. I actually still have yet to summon that monster for some reason. Here's another monster I have yet to summon, but that's for a completely different reason. 1 copy of DDD Marksman King Tell, and then, oh yeah, forgot, some of them you need to scroll down. And then finally, 2 copies of DDD Wave King Caesar. Anyway, yeah, I've been doing this for long enough, so I'm going to go get that final replay ready. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be a Crystron deck versus a Dino Mist deck. This one's actually going to be pretty short due to the fact that the deck I'm using completely counters theirs. So yeah, as you can see, first thing I do, set down Crystron Impact, activate Machina Armored Unit, summon Crystron Rosenix, and I use its effect to destroy Machina Armored Unit, and special summon Crystron Quan. I activate Machine Duplication to, right there as you can see, special summon these guys. Synchro summon Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi. Activate its effect, add Rosenix back to my hand. They set their pendulum scale. I activate Quan's effect. So that allows me to special summon Rosenix from my hand, and then synchro summon Crystron and Metrix. Activate dynamic power load. Dynamic power load. And then they pendulum summon Spinos. They attack a Metrix and they end my turn. I end my turn. And here is where they are screwed. I summon Crystron Fistfern. Tune it together with Quan to summon Crystron Quandam. And then I tune that monster together, because it's a tuner, with my level 5 Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi for Crystron Phoenixion. And its effect allows me to banish all spell or trap cards on my opponent's side of the field and in their graveyard. So obviously they go ahead and activate Dino Mist Rush to special summon a Dino Mist monster from their deck. So, and because that Dino Mist Rex is unaffected by card effects for the rest of the turn. What I do next is I banish Crystron Rosenix from my graveyard to special summon one Crystron token. Then I activate Crystron Impact to special summon Rosenix back to my side of the field, and all special summon all monsters my opponent controls. Their defense becomes 0. Of course, Rex is the exception because of Dino Mist Rush. Anyway, next I activate Iron Call to special summon Crystron Quan from my grave, tune it together with Rosenix, and its effect allows me to switch all special summon monsters to defense mode when it's synchro summoned. So I attack that 0 defense point Dynamis Spinos, and then I attack Rex with Phoenixion. End my turn, and they give up because they can't do anything. Crystron Entry would have been my next card. Anyway, that's all I have today. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like down below and subscribe. If you want me to do a certain kind of deck, tell me. If you want to see Crystron done next, tell me, and I will get some more playthroughs of that done after. I'll get some more replays of that done after I do some more fine-tuning to the deck, because things do not always go as smoothly as they do right here. Anyway, until next time, this has been Flash Tag, and I will see you all later. Bye!